Don't make a scene, Dolly. Your sister needs a home. Not someone like you, cold and always working. My mother stood inside my penthouse, wearing my silk robe. I stood outside in the hallway with my suitcase. We locked it for safety, she said calmly. Just stay in a hotel. You can afford it. Then she shut the door in my face. Just like that, I was locked out of the home I paid for while my own family lived inside. I checked into a hotel a few blocks away. The room was perfect, clean sheets, city view, everything. But none of it mattered. I was paying $400 a night to sleep in a stranger's bed while my parents sat in my living room, drinking my wine. That apartment took me 5 years to afford. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat by the window, watching the snow fall, thinking about how it got this bad. But deep down, I already knew. In my family, kids aren't treated like people. We're investments. There are only 2 types. My sister, Brianna, the risky one. Always in trouble, always needing help. And me, the reliable one. The one who pays. 2 years ago, my father needed heart surgery. His insurance had lapsed because he spent money helping Brianna. He called me crying, scared he might die. I didn't think twice. I sent $52,000. Everything I had saved. That's what a good daughter does, right? 3 months later, I visited for Thanksgiving. There was a brand new SUV in the driveway, with a big red bow on it. It's for Brianna, my mother said proudly. I asked how they could afford it. My father looked at me and said, "We had some money left." They didn't. They had my money. That's when everything changed. They didn't see it as mine. To them, I was just holding it for the family. So when they moved Brianna into my penthouse, it wasn't random. It was planned. She was pregnant, perfect shield. They knew I wouldn't throw her out in winter. They knew how it would look. They were counting on my guilt. The next morning, I called my lawyer. "I want them out," I said. "I don't care how." He went quiet. "You've got a problem," he said. "They're not trespassing. They're guests. Legally, they have rights now. And with a pregnant woman in winter? No judge will evict them fast." "How long?" I asked. 6 to 8 months. I felt sick. They could destroy everything in that time. "They're expecting you to pay them to leave," he added. A setup. A trap. I hung up and stared outside. They thought they had won. They thought I'd given, like always. But they forgot something. I don't just follow contracts. I find the loopholes. Eviction wasn't going to work. I needed something bigger. Something smarter. I needed to use the one thing they loved most. Money. For 3 days, I disappeared. No calls. No messages. I let them relax in my home, thinking they were safe. Because comfortable people make mistakes. And my parents? They always think they're the smartest in the room. On the 4th day, I called my father from a new number. "Dad," I said softly. "I'm tired. You win." There was a pause, then satisfaction. "Finally," he said. "I want to give you the penthouse," I told him. "Put it in your name. For Brianna." He tried to hide his excitement. "That kind of property for free?" But then I added, "There's just one problem. Taxes." Silence. "If I gift it, you'll owe hundreds of thousands. You'd have to sell it." "We can't afford that," he said quickly. "I know," I replied. "Unless we make it look like you bought it. The cash actually came from you, like you gave it to me to hold." I said. "Okay," he replied slowly. "Here's how we do it. It's just paperwork, a source of funds affidavit. Standard form for the condo board. You swear the $350,000 was your money, held in cash, and you gave it to me to buy the penthouse. Sign it. The board approves the transfer. The IRS sees it as your equity, no gift tax." He hesitated. The smart villain check lit up. He knew lying on a form was risky. "Does the government see this? I don't want the IRS digging through my accounts." "No, Dad," I said smoothly. "It stays internal. Condo board only. Formally, it just puts your name on the deed." He breathed out. "All right. Send it over." He had taken the bait, thinking he was outsmarting the system. But I'd learned the golden rule of negotiation. Never sign anything until you know what the other side is holding. While my lawyer drafted the affidavit, I did what I should have years ago. I dug. Public records are a gold mine for anyone willing to look. I logged into the federal court system, searched Robert and Karen Miller, and found exactly what I needed. Chapter 7 bankruptcy, discharged 6 months ago. $80,000 wiped out. But I wasn't after debt. I was after assets. Line 17, cash on hand, 0. Line 20, other financial assets, 0. At the bottom, I declare under penalty of perjury that this information is true and correct. 6 months ago, they swore under federal law they were broke. Tomorrow, I was going to have them sign a new, notarized, video-recorded affidavit claiming $350,000 in secret cash. They couldn't be broke and rich at the same time. Sign it and they confess to federal bankruptcy fraud. Up to 5 years in prison, $250,000 fine, assets seized. Greed had trapped them. To claim the penthouse, they had to admit a felony. I forwarded the bankruptcy file to my lawyer. Trap is set. Book the court reporter. The conference room at Sterling and Associates was all chrome, glass, and Chicago skyline. A $600 an hour view. I sat at one end of the mahogany table. Mr. Sterling, vulture-like in his suit, sat beside me. In the corner, a court reporter set up her stenography machine. A videographer adjusted his camera to capture the empty chairs opposite me. This isn't casual, I said to myself. It's a formal deposition of facts for the condo board. At 2 o'clock sharp, the elevator opened. My parents entered like royalty. Robert in his Sunday suit, reserved for funerals or loan applications. Karen in a vintage fur coat, one I'd bought at an estate sale years ago. Brianna waddled behind them, hand on her belly, Starbucks in the other. She didn't glance at me, only at the skyline. They sat. Silence. Let's get this over with, Robert said. Traffic's terrible and my daughter needs rest. Water, Karen added, pointing at Brianna. Dolly, pour some water. I didn't move. I didn't blink. I watched. Sterling cleared his throat, sharp as a gavel. Mr. and Mrs. Miller, this is a sworn affidavit. The court reporter is recording. Video is on. You are about to swear under penalty of perjury that you personally held $350,000 in cash and provided it to Dolly Miller to purchase the penthouse. If this conflicts with any federal filings, you could face felony charges. Do you understand? Dead silence. The hum of the camera filled the room. This was the moment to back down. A rational person would. A smart villain might. But my father didn't hear a warning. He heard a challenge. I know what money I have, he said, picking up the fountain pen. Saved cash in a safe for 30 years. Mattress money. Uncle Sam doesn't need to know everything, right? He winked at the camera. Sterling stayed stone-faced. State your name for the record and sign. Robert signed with flourish. Karen followed, hand trembling, not from fear, but excitement. Brianna clapped softly, whispering, finally. They leaned back, smiling like they'd pulled off a heist, outsmarting the IRS, the condo board, and their naive daughter. They didn't realize they'd just signed a confession. The ink on the affidavit was barely dry when the room's mood dropped, heavy and suffocating. Robert capped the pen, slid the paper toward me, and leaned back with his hands behind his head. Not so hard, he said to Brianna, grinning. Now sign the deed transfer. Dolly movers come tomorrow. I didn't touch the pen. I didn't even glance at the deed. I looked at Mr. Sterling. He nodded, opened his briefcase again, and pulled out a thick red accordion file. He laid a stapled stack of blue-backed legal documents on the affidavit my parents had just signed. Karen's face tightened. What is that? Your Chapter 7 bankruptcy discharge, I said calmly. Northern District of Illinois. Dated 6 months ago. Robert's grin curdled into confusion. So what? That's old. Our debts are cleared. Page 4, I said, tapping the line. Schedule AB, assets. You swore under oath to a federal judge that you had 0 cash, 0 savings, 0 assets, that you were destitute, so $80,000 of debt would be erased. And 5 minutes ago, I pointed at the camera, red light blinking, you swore on video that you've been sitting on $350,000 in cash. Total silence. Brianna's eyes bounced between us, trying to do the math. Karen's hand flew to her throat. Robert's skin turned ash gray. Found it, I said. Sterling raised an eyebrow. $350,000 in a coat pocket. It was a gift. Karen blurted. From a friend, then it's income. Sterling cut her off. Effortless. Which you failed to report to the IRS and the bankruptcy trustee. And since you claimed it was mattress money saved over 30 years, you've now contradicted yourselves on the record. Robert surged to his feet. Give me that affidavit. He lunged. Sterling's hand dropped over it, unmoving. I can't, Mr. Miller. It's evidence. Evidence of what? He shouted. We're helping our daughter. You tricked us. I didn't trick you, I said coldly. I told you the legal requirement. You chose to lie because you wanted my home more than the truth. You walked and broke and just made yourself a felon on camera trying to steal my property. Robert hissed, moving toward me. Sit down, Sterling barked. Command pure and sharp. The camera kept rolling. Every threat, every word recorded. Robert sank back into his chair. Bones turned to sand, seeing the trap for the first time. Rich for the condo board, poor for the federal government. He couldn't be both. Sterling adjusted his cufflinks like he was discussing the weather. Mr. Miller, I have a duty to report. I can't ignore evidence of a felony. Before you leave this building, I will electronically file the video and affidavit with the U.S. bankruptcy trustee. Karen whispered. You can't. We're family. I'm not your family, Sterling replied. I'm a lawyer who keeps his license. You admitted to hiding substantial assets while discharging debt. The trustee will seek an emergency asset freeze by morning. Every account will be locked, pensions garnished, vehicles seized. You'll be stripped to repay the creditors you defrauded. Brianna slammed the table. Stop, she screamed, half sobbing, half shrieking. I'm not leaving the penthouse. I have rights. I'm a tenant. Sterling's gaze was flat. Actually, Miss Miller, you're not. You accessed the property through fraud and false pretenses, bypassing security. Under Illinois law, that kills any tenancy claim. You're a trespasser. Chicago police are already on the way. If you're there when they arrive, you'll be arrested for criminal trespass. Brianna whimpered. Karen covered her face. Robert stared at the table, lips moving as if calculating an escape with no door. Then all three looked at me. Shock, hatred, disbelief, as if I'd detonated their lives for sport. And in a way, I had. People say, take the high road. Just evict them. Don't ruin them. But you can't negotiate with a tumor. If I'd evicted them, they'd have sued, stalked, drained me with legal fees and guilt until I was a shell. I had to end it. I stood, legs heavy, spine unbent. You think this is cruel? I said over Brianna's crying. You think I'm evil? You are. Corin spat through tears. You're sending your parents to prison. You're putting your sister on the street. No, I said softly. I'm cutting you off. Parasites. Parasites don't stop until the host is dead. If I leave a foothold, you'll use it to destroy me. I met my father's eyes. The man who taught me love was a transaction. This isn't vengeance, I said. It's surgery. Quick, final, irreversible. I had to burn the bridge while you were standing on it, so you could never follow me again. I picked up my purse. Police will be at the penthouse in 20 minutes. I suggest you start moving. 10 minutes later, 2 uniformed officers arrived, not to arrest my parents yet, but to escort hostile parties out. Robert lunged. I watched them march from the glass conference room, fluorescent lights highlighting the collapse of their control. Karen's fur coat looked suddenly heavy. Brianna stared at the floor. Robert twisted free briefly, tears streaking his cheeks. Dolly, please, he begged. We're your parents. Don't let them take everything. We did this for the family. I held his gaze. You did it for the family. You chose the family you wanted to protect. His voice cracked. We can fix it. Tell the lawyer to stop. Please. Leave, I said. It's too late. The file is already sent. You sold me out for a house, he whispered. I sold you out for my freedom. Transaction closed. The elevator doors slid shut on his sobbing. I didn't go back to the penthouse. I signed Sterling's retainer, left the building, and headed straight to the airport. The fallout hit fast. The bankruptcy trustee moved quickly, Emergency asset freeze, accounts seized, car taken, pensions garnished, discharge revoked, debts returned with fines. Robert and Karen were charged with bankruptcy fraud and perjury, 5-year federal sentences. Brianna was removed from the penthouse that night. Months later, she landed with a distant cousin, stripped of privilege. I sold the penthouse. After fees, I cleared $300,000. Bought a one-way ticket. Disappeared. Now I sit in a cafe in Notting Hill. New number, deleted socials, clean horizon. To them, I'm a ghost. A ghost who won. If you believe cutting off toxic family can be survival, would you have pushed the button or hesitated?